Rule 10 is all about enforcement of penalties. And although when it gets down to our crew chiefs, we expect our referees to be masters of this rule. Everyone on the crew is expected to be a master of this rule. All right, it's for everyone. Everybody should be tied in. Everybody should know how to enforce penalties, and obviously it's 5, 10, and 15-yard penalties. What is what? So there's a lot to cover in this chat in this rule, and we're going to be going through it hopefully in two parts. I mean, last time I did this, I did it in an hour and a half. We're not going to spend an hour and a half on here, so obviously it's going to be a part two. So penalty enforcement. All right, avoiding enforcement errors. Many officials have discovered firsthand that determining the correct play ruling and penalty enforcement option in a meeting room or while reading at home is much simpler than coming up with the right answer in the heat of the battle on the field. Nonetheless, rules errors, especially incorrect penalties enforcements, are inexcusable. Correct enforcement is not solely the referee's responsibility. Each official must understand every foul that is called and ensure the correct distance is marked off from the proper enforcement spot. Be it may, enforcement errors happen. Now it can happen because we rush. It can happen because we're our mind somewhere else. Again, the major issue, and as I thought about it, because I have a lot of officials that work with us sometimes that just make enforcement errors, and it's because they're trying to enforce NCAA penalty enforcement into a high school rule-based game, NFHS rule-based game, and that's where we have a lot of our problems at, our issues at when people trying to enforce NCAA where we're under the NFHS rules. So how are we going to look at this? How are we going to dive into Rule 10? We're going to use the 5 W's. All right. The 5 W's is how we problem solve and how we get things done. So we're going to look at the who, what, when, where, and why. So this is if you're not the referee and you throw a flag for a foul and you go up to the referee, he gonna need to know the who, what, when, where, and why. It's something that you're going to have to know. And so let's go ahead and dive into it. So the who, all right? A is a team which puts the ball in play and the opponents is B. So A is what we call the offense, and we use initials to identify the offense versus defense. So when we talk about A, we're talking about the offense, and when we talk about B, we're talking about the defense. K is the team which legally kicks the ball during the down, and the opponent is R. So again, identifiers for the kicking team is K, and identifier for the receiving team is R. To let you know that those identifiers remain in place until the down ends. So even though there may be an interception or R may recover a kick, we don't say, okay, now the person who intercepted the ball, now he's A, and now the other team is B. No, they remain A and B until the down is ended, and then the identifiers change. All right. So in Rule 10, there's a lot of phrases and a lot of other than. So I just put this in here because and the English language can be sometimes confusing, and you see this other than, and you're going to see it a lot as we go through the course. So other than is used, you use other than after a negative statement to say that person item or thing that follows is the only exception to the statement. So, in other words, when we talk about something like we're gonna look at the next one here, it says when two or more live ball fouls other than non-player and unsportsmanlike uh, are are committed during the same down by the same team, multiple fouls, only one penalty may be enforced. So, in other words, the other than, with the exception of non-player and unsportsmanlike fouls. So when we're looking at when we're talking about live ball fouls, and although the ball may be live when you have a non-player foul or unsportsmanlike foul, they're exempt from what we're reading here in this rule. All right. So two or more live ball fouls are committed during the same down by the same team, which is a multiple foul, only one penalty may be enforced. Okay. Again, talking about who is important, like who fouled. There was a foul on A and B, or was the foul on A? That's very important. We need to know that, because if you got multiple fouls on A, then we know we're only going to be able to penalize. We're only going to be able to penalize the team with one of those fouls, not all the A's, just one A. All right. It is a double foul if both teams commit fouls, other than non-player unsportsmanlike, during the same live ball period in which Rule 10. All right. So again, so now we have an A foul and a B foul. Who foul? A foul and B foul. All right. So if we have a foul on A and a foul on B on the same live ball play, then we have what we call a double foul. All right. Now, the double foul is what we execute if there is no change of team possession. So if there's no change of team possession, we are still in a double foul. There is a change of team possession, and the team in possession at the end of the down fouls prior to the final change of possession, what we call no clean hands. And we'll talk about what clean hands mean in a minute, unless all fouls are committed by R or post scrimmage kick fouls. So, in other words, if there's no change of team possession and we have a foul on both teams, is considered a double foul. If there is a change of possession and B fouled before they got the change of possession, let's say we have holding on A, and then the pass was thrown and B pushed A out the way and B caught the ball. So now B committed pass interference before he or she obtained possession of the ball. We have a double foul. All right. And there is a change of possession, and the team in final possession accept the penalty for its opponent's fouls at the same time during the down. All right. In A, B, or C, the penalties cancel and the down is replayed. All right. So we just looked at multiple fouls, which is a foul by one team. It can be BBB, AAA. A double foul is a foul by A or B. And again, these are important because when you go talk to the official, he didn't know who fouled, and we didn't know if it's A or B, or is it K or R. All those important when we're trying to figure out how we're going to enforce the foul. All right. So let's get to what type of play. All right. So whenever the ball is live, one or two types of plays is in progress. That is either a loose ball play or a running play. Because this immediately determines the basic spot of enforcement unless the spot is otherwise specified by rule. So we're trying to get to the basic spot. And I don't know if we're going to get to it today. We may get to it next Monday. But we're trying to determine the basic spot. This is where the reference point of penalty enforcement. But in order to determine the basic spot, we have to determine what type of play that we're in. Are we in a loose ball play or a running play? So let's go further. So A loose ball play is action doing a free kick or scrimmage kick. All right. So when the ball is kicked during a free kick at the beginning of the game or after a touchdown or the start of the beginning of a new half, or there's a punt or a field goal or just a scrimmage kick for score, these are considered a loose ball play. In other words, the ball is been released. The ball is not in anybody's possession, so it's considered to be a loose ball play. A legal forward pass. So when we throw the ball, we're in a loose ball play. And a backwards pass, including the snap. So even a long snap is considered a backwards as part of a loose ball play. An illegal kick. So no, the ball is fumble and you kick the ball. It's considered a fumble as part of a loose ball play. A fumble made by A from in or behind the neutral zone prior to a change of team possession. So if there's a fumble behind the line of scrimmage, that is considered a loose ball play. So it's very important that we understand this because we're going to get into the basic spots and we got to understand what are loose ball plays. And based on these three here, a free kick or scrimmage kicks, so all kicking games are part of loose ball. A forward pass is part of a loose ball, and a backwards pass is part of a loose ball play. All right. So the run are runs which precede such legal or illegal kick, legal forward pass, backwards pass, or fumble is or are considered part of the actions during a loose ball play. So what does that mean? That means if let's say I got the ball to quarterback and I'm running behind the line of scrimmage, all of that is considered, and then I throw it. Everything from when I receive the snap, when I'm running, and then I pass it is all part of a loose ball play. So it's not a run play, then a loose ball is a run, pass, all of that from the snap to the pass is considered a loose ball. Now, a running play is simple. A running play is any actions not included under Article 1 other than those defined by 249B. All right. So we have our loose ball play, kicking, passing, backwards pass. If we have none of those involved, we're in a running play. Now, can you have a running play after a loose ball play? Of course. If I throw a backwards pass, and then once the halfback or the back receives that backward pass, and then they start to run, now we're in a running play. On a forward pass, if I throw a pass to the receiver, any fouls that happen before the receiver catches it is part of the loose ball play. Once the receiver catches it and then start running, now we're part of a running play. All right. So we got what type of play? Is it a loose ball play or is it a run play? Now we want to know what type of foul. All right. So we have we're going to be looking at definitions of Rule 2 on the different types of fouls. We have what they call a dead ball foul. A dead ball foul is a foul which occurs in the time interval after a down in and before the ball is next snapped or free kicked. We talked about it in Rule 4. So when we're talking about a dead ball foul, we're talking about a foul that occurs between the time the ball was live and then we blew the whistle, and all the time between the next snap is considered dead ball. Live ball, a foul which occurs during a down. So when the ball is snapped, a legal snapped or a legal kick, the ball is considered live, and now we're in a live ball play. Non-player or unsportsmanlike. A non-contact foul while the ball is dead or during the down. It could be a live ball or a dead ball foul. And then we got a foul simultaneously with the snap. An act which becomes a foul when the ball is snapped or free kick. In other words, although let's say we got two players moving in the bike field. This weekend we had one of the game officials. It was two players moving in the bike field and they threw the flag. And I'm like, it's not a foul. It's not a foul for two players moving in the bike field. It don't become a foul until the ball is snapped. Right? So that means they can fix it. So you got to know what are fouls simultaneously with the snap, because although the red flags go off and you identified as being a foul, they can fix it. If they correct it before the ball is snapped or for a delay of game, there's no foul. So these are fouls that can be fixed, but they are considered live ball. In other words, if the ball is snapped, we're going to let it go, and then we're going to enforce it according to the basic spot we'll see here in a little bit. But again, that's what simultaneous with the snap is. All right. Simultaneous with the snap, live ball fouls. No foul cause the live ball to become dead. So on the offense, illegal formations or illegal numbering, illegal motion, illegal shift, all rule infractions that can be corrected before the snap. So all of these are like live or fouls simultaneously with a snap that can be fixed. Now, two other live ball fouls that can be associated with offense and defense are illegal substitution and illegal participation. So where, illegal formation, numbering, illegal motion, illegal shift only applies to the offense, you can have a live ball illegal substitution infraction, and you can have a live ball illegal participation infraction. And so these are all fouls simultaneously with the snap. They don't become a foul until the ball is snapped. And then we're going to find out what's the basic spot for that. All right, so let's talk about clean hands, because we talked about it here. So we looked at who, A or B, AA, BB, A or B. We looked at what type of play it is. Is it a running play or pass play? A loose ball play. We looked at what type of foul is it? A dead ball foul, live ball foul, simultaneous with a snap foul, non-player, unsportsmanlike conduct foul. All these double foul, multiple foul, what type of foul it is. Now we're going to look at when. When did a foul happen? All right. And this applies to what we call clean hands. And this is all talking about a change of team possession. All right. If each team fouls during a down in which there is a change of possession and the play does not have a post-scrimmage kick foul, the team last gaining possession may retain the ball provided, okay, the foul by the team last gaining possession is not prior to the final change of possession. In other words, I intercepted the ball. However, we didn't have a foul before we intercepted it, or it was a fumble and the B recovered it, and we haven't fouled. That means we recovered the ball with clean hands. And the team last gaining possession declines the penalty for its opponent's fouls, other than, with the exception of, non-player unsportsmanlike fouls. So although there may be two fouls, let's say, and this is, you see this, and I'm going to tell you that you see this all the time, okay? So we have a hole on the offense, and then we have a fumble. And then B recovers the fumble, and as B returning the ball, one of his teammates blindside block a team A player. So we have two fouls. We have a foul by A prior to the change of possession, and then we got a foul by B after the change of possession. So in other words, in order for B recover the ball with clean hands, they had no foul prior to recovery. In order for B to maintain possession of the ball, they have to decline the hold on A. If they say we want to take the hold on A, and obviously A going to take the blindside block on B, now we into a double foul, and the foul is going to offset, and we got to replay the down. But if B want to maintain possession of the ball, they have to decline the foul by A, and then A going to execute their foul, and then B gets to maintain possession of the ball. But that only happens if the clean hands apply. In other words, B did not foul prior to possessing the ball. All right. Where is the spot? All right. So we're looking at when it happened. When was the foul happen? Did it that happened before effort. Now we're looking at where is the spot. All right. The basic spot is a point of reference for penalty enforcement. Okay. So where we're going to enforce the foul from is what we're discussing now. Where we're going to enforce it from. Are we going to and that is what we call the basic spot. And again, the base is a point of reference on where we're going to execute the penalty from. All right. The enforcement spot is the point from which a penalty is enforced. So they could be different. The basic spot, not necessarily enforcement spot, but typically it is, but sometimes it isn't. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. All right. All right. The spot of the foul is where the foul occurs. Okay. So not necessarily the basic spot, but the enforcement spot can be the basic spot, or the enforcement spot can be the spot of the foul. All depends. And as we go through, we'll look at the different avenues of the spot. And when I was learning, when I was getting into Rule 10 in my early days, that was I think that was the biggest like mind thing for me to get over, is all these basic spot, enforcement spots, spot of the foul. It was like, what? Like it took a while for me to just grasp of what they mean by all these different spots. All right. If a foul occurs during a down, the basic spot is determined by the action that occurred during the down. This is the basic spot for penalty enforcement. Okay. The action means what type of play was it? Was it a loose ball play or was it a run play? That action will determine the basic spot for any foul that occurred. So this is spot. Everybody say hi to basic spot. There are 6 different spots on our spot here. We have the 20-yard line, the succeeding spot, the previous spot, the end of the run, the end of the kick on post-scrimmage kick fouls, and the goal line. All right. So although when we say basic spot, all of these are basic spots. It all depends on the action of the play on which one of these basic spots we're going to enforce the penalty from. But all of these are basic spots. All right. We just got to figure out what happened. So the basic spot, the thing of it is the dog, and then all the little spots on the dog are all places where we can enforce fouls from. So where's the spot? All right. So the basic spot is the spot where the related run ends for a foul which occurs during a running play. All right. So basically, if I'm running and I get tackled, that's the basic spot on a run play. So also the for end of the run is where the run ends. And so where the ball becomes dead in runner possession, where the runner lose possession, in which if he runs and followed by a loose ball. So let's say I'm running the ball and I fumble. The reason why we throw a beanbag is not necessarily to say, oh, there's a fumble. We throw the beanbag to mark the end of the run. So that beanbag is marking where he lost possession of the ball or where she lost possession of the ball. Why is that important? So let's say I lost possession of the ball. And then while the ball is loose, there's a foul. Okay. Well, where that ball was lost and the foul that occurred prior to the ball being regained possession by either A or B, that is the basic spot where the run ends. And that's where we will mark the foul from, depending on the all but one principle. All right. So that's why it's so important. That's why we throw a beanbag. We throw a beanbag not to say, oh, look, we got a fumble. And we just don't throw it anywhere. The beanbag supposed to get dropped right where the runner lost possession of the ball. I do. Okay. And the spot of a catch or recovery when the momentum rule is in effect. So remember, if I intercept the ball from the 5 yard line to my goal line, and I run into my momentum take me into my end zone, we mark the spot where he intercepted the ball, because if he is down in the end zone, and let's say there's a foul by B, then we're going to mark it from where he recovered the ball from on the 5 or the 4 or the 3 or the 2 yard line. That becomes the basic spot. So the basic spot is where the related run ends for a foul which occurs during this running play. So like here we got the snap, he runs, he gets tackled, the end of the run, that's the basic spot. All right. So the basic spot is the previous spot. Now, the previous spot is where the ball was last snapped or free kicked. So that means if we snapped it from the 20-yard line, and then we have a foul, which we're going to look over what considered part of the previous spot foul, then we're going to go back to the 20-yard line and mark off the foul. All right. So a foul which occurs simultaneously with the snap or free kick. So remember we just looked at simultaneously with the snap fouls. If we have a legal motion, a legal numbering, a legal formation, a legal shift, or a legal motion, and the ball is snapped when we throw our flag, if the foul is accepted, then the basic spot or the point or the enforcement spot would be the previous spot. So we go right back to the line of scrimmage and we mark off that foul. For a foul which occurs during a loose ball play. So in other words, if A is holding and he throws the ball, now him running with the ball is not anything. Once he throws the ball, now it's part of a loose ball play. And now if there's a foul by A, we're going to bring it back, or B, if B can foul too, we're going to bring it back to the previous spot to mark off the foul. And then for a foul which occurs during a down in which a legal kick occurs, and an inadverted whistle ends the down prior to possession by either team. So on a kicking play, the covering official inadvertently blow the whistle. Let's say they're fighting for the ball, they're trying to get the ball, and he thinks somebody has the ball, and they blow the whistle. It's an inadvertent whistle. Then we got to go back to the previous spot and replay the down. Right? So on a run play, the end of the run is the basic spot. If he fumbles the ball during the run, where he fumbled the ball at is the end of the run. That's the basic spot. Okay. On a momentum rule, he catches it. That's the basic spot. On a previous spot, simultaneous with the snap, loose ball play, which we already talked about, kicks, fumbles behind the line of scrimmage, and then a foul which occurs during the down, which a legal kick occurs, an inadvertent whistle. We have the basic spot. Now, the reason why, and a lot of officials do that, and that's fine. It's not neither bad or good. It has no like good or bad connotation to it. When we have a fumble on a run play, we throw the beanbag. And again, we throw the beanbag not to say there was a fumble. We throw the beanbag to mark the basic spot on the end of a run. Okay. So if there's a fumble behind the line of scrimmage, we already know that that's a loose ball play. And the basic spot is the previous spot, which is the line of scrimmage. So technically, you do not have to throw a beanbag on a fumble behind the line of scrimmage by A. Because if there's a fumble behind the line of scrimmage by A, and there's an A foul or B fouls while the ball is loose, we're going to go back to the previous spot to mark off the foul. So we're going to go back to the line of scrimmage. So the beanbag is not a reference point at that point because we're not using the beanbag. We already know what the basic spot is. It's the previous spot. So that's a heads up. There's no need to have beanbags on a fumble or bad snap behind the line of scrimmage, because if anything happened while the ball is loose, the basic spot is the previous spot. It's not where he lost possession of the ball. All right, so in 2023, which is this year, there's a rule change that's going to take effect this fall. Rule 10-4, the basic spot. In a move to achieve one of the committee's fundamental tasks of maintaining a balance between offense and defense, this revision stipulates that the basic spot for enforcement of a foul behind the line of scrimmage is the previous spot rather than the spot of the foul. Okay, so it's almost like college, NCAA, on how they have what they call the hippie, holding, illegal use of the hands, personal fouls, illegal blocks. Any of those fouls that happen behind the line of scrimmage in the NCAA, we take it back to the previous spot and we mark off the foul. Now, NFHS always have a little twist, and sometimes they line up with NCAA, but then sometimes they do not. So until the new rule come out this year and the rule change, I don't know everything about it. But I'm sure when the rule books come out, we'll have a better understanding of it, and we may talk about it again later. But just know that the basic spot for any foul by A behind the line of scrimmage is going to be the previous spot for penalty enforcement. All right. So there are some exceptions to the previous spot, and that's during the kicking game. And again, it's just so much, right? It's like, okay, I got it. Now there's exceptions to the rule. It's like, it's crazy. All right, but the previous spot exceptions are pretty much talking about the kicking game. All right, so the basic spot may, at the option of the defended team, be the succeeding spot for fouls by K. So we know who K is. K is the kicking team. Doing a legal free kick or scrimmage kick down prior to the end of the kick, when K will not be next to put the ball in play. All that's important. So basically, and I think I have some diagrams on here coming up. But basically, it's just saying that if K kicks the ball, and then K fouls, either holding or whatever K does during that play, before R secures possession of the ball, R can run with the ball. Once R get tackled, rather than saying, okay, it is a loose ball play because it was a kick, now we got to go back to the previous spot and mark off the foul and have the K re-kick, R can say, well, I would just tack on that foul to the end of my run, to the succeeding spot. So rather than going back, R can keep the ball and then mark off the foul. Now, let's say R running with the ball and R fumbles and K gain possession of the ball. Well, that option is no longer available because it says K can't be the next one to put the ball in play. So then we got to go back to the previous spot now and mark it off, and K will re-kick. All right, hope I didn't confuse you. All right, so on a subsequent kickoff during a scoring game where there's a score, I should have put scoring play. I put scoring game. During a scoring play, the succeeding spot may be the option of the offended team, be the subsequent kickoff, as in Rule 10 and 4-5. So in other words, and I think we're going to definitely look at that here in a little bit. If there's a foul by B or A, unsportsmanlike conduct, the team can say, no, I want to take the foul on a kickoff rather than a try. So that it could be the succeeding spot, which is the kickoff of the try. So that's the exception to the previous spot exception. All right. So here go our play right here. R has additional options when K fouls during a free kick or scrimmage kick down. Penalty may be enforced from the succeeding spot if K is not next to put the ball in play. So we see K holds while the kick is in flight. R catches the ball near the 50-yard line, gets tackled on the 45. Because of the hold is a 10-yard penalty. R can say, you know what, let's just tack on the 10 yards from the 45. So I take the on K's 45. So we'll take the ball on K's 35-yard line. And that's an option. They don't have to talk about let's re-kick it again. They can keep the ball and tack on the yardage. So R has additional options. There's another one here. So here, K grabs the face mask during a kick. So he went downfield, he used the hands, he grabbed R's face and pulled him down. Again, R recovered the ball on the 20. R got to the 27-yard line or 26-yard line. Rather than saying, you know, let's take it back and have a re-kick, they can say, I just want to tack on the 15 yards or 5, depending on what type of face mask it is, and maintain possession of the ball. All right. Now, so that is the previous spot. Now let's talk about the succeeding spot. Is where the ball would next be snapped or free kick if a foul has not occurred. So the basic spot is the succeeding spot for an unsportsmanlike foul. Very important, because we're going to talk about this when we talk about scoring on a scoring play. But if there's an unsportsmanlike foul, don't matter if it's live ball, happens when the ball is live, or happen when the ball is dead, the basic spot or the enforcement spot for unsportsmanlike foul is the succeeding spot. So in other words, you pretend like the foul has not occurred, and you'll do whatever you have to do, put the ball where it has to go, and wherever the ball is going to be snapped a free kick, that's where we're going to mark off the unsportsmanlike foul. All right. For a dead ball foul, so a foul that happened while the ball is dead. For a non-player foul, all right, returning to coaches, assistant coaches, and players on the sideline who are not active in the game. And when the final result is a touchback, right? When a team commits a non-player or unsportsmanlike foul during the same down, it is administered from the succeeding spot, as established by the acceptance or declination of the penalty for the other foul or live ball foul, whatever makes it means. So let's say we had a live ball foul, and of course we're gonna pretend like the unsportsmanlike foul didn't happen, and then we got a live ball foul. So we're gonna put that on the table. We're gonna put it on the shelf. Then we're gonna deal with the live ball foul. Once we deal with the live ball foul, this is where the ball is going to be next snapped from. Then we take the unsportsmanlike non-player foul off the shelf, and then we enforce that. All right. So let's look at some of the enforcements of an unsportsmanlike foul, a non-player foul. Enforcement of penalties for unsportsmanlike non-player or dead ball fouls. A, penalties for dead ball fouls are administered separately in the order of their occurrence. A dead ball foul is not coupled with a live ball foul or another dead ball foul to create a double or multiple foul. So you know how we talked about in the beginning who fouled, and then we talked about what type of foul was it? Was it a double foul, multiple foul, or was it a dead ball foul? All the other things like that. If we have a dead ball foul or unsportsmanlike conduct foul, we don't say, okay, a dead ball and a live ball is a double foul or a multiple foul, and we're only going to be able to force one. No, we enforce all of them. All right. When it get down to unsportsmanlike non-player dead ball fouls, everyone gets its debut on enforcement. There's a reason. Now, there's one that we don't, and we're going to look at that at B. But I'm just understand that we don't couple. We're going to enforce the live ball fouls first, and then we'll enforce the dead ball fouls. All right. And then we do them in the order that they occurred. And we're going to look at that here in a little bit. Okay. So in play pick A, the A player false starts. All right. In play pick B, B player commits a dead ball personal foul. Both fouls occurred before the next live ball. The penalties do not cancel and are forced in the order of occurrence. So we're going to mark off the 5-yard penalty for the false start, and then we're going to mark off 15-yard penalty for the dead ball personal foul. All right, so we execute both. Now, the only exception to that is in B. If both teams commit unsportsmanlike, non-player, or dead ball personal fouls prior to the completion of the penalty administration for those fouls, the distant penalties for an equal number of 15-yard unsportsmanlike, non-player, or dead ball personal foul will offset. Any remaining penalties will be enforced separately and in the order of their occurrence. So what do we mean by that? Just to make sure, understand that all equal number of 15-yard penalties. So if you have a 5-yard penalty, dead ball foul, a 5-yard dead ball foul, and a 15, we're going to do both. We're not going to offset them. We're not going to, they don't offset. They don't cancel out. It only pertains to equal amount of 15-yard penalties when we have a who A and a who B. All right. Now we have all who A's, they all get enforced. We have all who B's, they all get enforced. But we have a who A and a who B, and they can offset. All right. So here go one here. And play pick A B player commits a dead ball personal foul. And play pick B, the A coach is flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct. All right. Both fouls occur before the next live ball. The fouls offset and will be third down. All right. So when an unsportsmanlike conduct or a dead ball foul occurs, we don't replay the down. All right. Because we go, what? If the foul didn't occur, what down it would be? It would be third. So it's third down. And now we enforce the foul. But we see this a lot with coaches, and especially in youth. It'll be a foul, and we're about to mark it off, and then the coach do something stupid, and then he get a foul, and now he just tuck away his 15 yards or his advantage because he thought we didn't know what we was doing, and he had something to say, or she has something to say, and then boom, they lose out. All right, so here go another one. In play pick A, the B player hits the runner out of bounds. It's a dead ball foul. In play pick B, 2 A players commit unsportsmanlike foul. All fouls occurred before the next live ball. 1 A foul and 1 B foul offsets. The penalty for the remaining A foul is enforced. So don't let a coach tell you, you cannot give us 2 of those. All right. And I'm sure we do that and we miss it all the time. If you get 2 players from the same team doing the same thing, that is unsportsmanlike conduct on that teammate and unsportsmanlike conduct on that teammate, and they're both enforceable. We're not gonna be like, oh, we're gonna just do one. No, that's a 30-yard penalty. So if you look at this scenario, there was a late hit out of bounds, which A is going to get a 15-yard penalty, a 15-yard advantage. They're going to get 15 added more yards. But because of the 2 players getting mad at the player who hit him out of bounds and cussed them out, now one of those fouls on the unsportsmanlike conduct on A, and in the dead ball foul on B, they're both 15s, they offset. And now you're going to enforce the other foul on A. So rather than them gaining 15 yards, they lose 15 yards. And yes, they're going to probably another one on them because the coach going to get mad and all that goes. I can see the scenario now. If y'all, I'm sure all y'all can see what's going to happen on this one. But that's the deal. So that's how this works. So we don't, if there's more than one player, they all get the 15. All right. And then we pair them up, and then whatever's left over get enforced. All right. So we don't pair 2 A's with 1 B and say, okay, offset. We know it's 2 of them versus 1. one offset. No, 2 minus 1 is 1. That's how that works. So penalty enforcement on a scoring play. Now, this has been a pet peeve of mine and something I've been trying to stress forever. In 2004, I believe it is, I was with WCOA, and we was at Chamberlain High School in the gymnasium, and we was going over like rules training. And in 2004, we had a crew from WCOA call back a touchdown for unsportsmanlike conduct. And in that class, they told us we do not call back touchdown for unsportsmanlike conduct because it's a succeeding spot foul. So you pretend like the foul didn't happen, and then you can say, hey, you can take the foul on the try, or you can take the foul on the kickoff. And then we'll either go 18 yards back on the try, or we'll go on the 25-yard line for the kickoff. But what we won't do is cancel the touchdown. That was in 2004. 2008 rolled around, and I was in charge of one of the national tournaments that come to town, and we had a crew from Chicago call back a touchdown for unsportsmanlike conduct. I tried to talk to them. I wasn't doing a game. They were like, that's how we do it in Chicago. I'm like, well, do y'all go by the National Federation of High School rules? And they go, yeah, well, I try to educate them. No, we don't call back touchdown for unsportsmanlike conduct or non-player fouls. Then in 2021, I was doing a game for AAU in Orlando, and the crew that was on the other field behind me called back a touchdown for unsportsmanlike conduct. Both of those was determining factors on who won or lost the game. Okay, so the team that lost should have won, but they lost because they was enforced. It was enforcement error, and they enforced it as a live ball foul, as an all but one principle, rather than knowing that we do not call back touchdowns for unsportsmanlike conduct. Then it happened again in 2021 with one of my crew chiefs in Haines City, and one of the members on the crew was in my class the last time I did this, tried to explain to the referee that we don't call back touchdowns, but they overrid them and did it anyway. Why? Because you look at NCAA and they do it, and that's how you get your rule knowledge, and you try to enforce those same rules in a high school game or in a youth game, and you're completely wrong. We do not call back touchdowns for unsportsmanlike conduct or non-player fouls. Write it down, put it somewhere, put it on your forehead, do something with it. We do not call back touchdowns for unsportsmanlike conduct fouls. Let's reinforce it. So on this one, there was an interception by B. B scores a touchdown, and A2 commits a dead ball foul. All right. On a scoring play, the choices are take the foul on the try or carry it over to the kickoff or the subsequent kickoff, how the rule book says it. All right. Those are two options. On this one, B's coach is on the field during the play. This is a non-player foul. A scores a touchdown. A has the choice to take it on the try or the subsequent kickoff. Even if, let's say it was A coach is on the field and then A scored a touchdown. Are we going to call back the touchdown and mark the foul from where A coach is on the field? No, we do not call back touchdowns for any team for a non-player foul. Okay, so what will happen is B will have the option to take it on the try or take it on a subsequent kickoff. But make sure you have this down, because I'm sure we're going to see it again, because ain't that many people in this class, and everybody think they know the rules, and they like to watch NCAA, and they go out there with some bad information, and they try to go out there and enforce rules, and they don't know what they're talking about. All right. We do not call back touchdowns for unsportsmanlike conduct fouls, be it during the play or after the play. All right. I'm going to say it again. All right. So where's the spot? Let's go. All right. So the basic spot is the 20-yard line for fouls by either team when the opponent of the team in possession at the time of the foul is responsible for forcing the ball across the goal line of the team in possession, and the related run ends in the end zone and followed by a loose ball, or regardless of where the loose ball becomes dead. All right. So let's look at that and some diagrams here. All right. So this is the basic spot going to be the 20-yard line. So basically we have a touchback. And because we have a touchback, obviously a touchback goes to the 20-yard line, and that's is where we're going to mark off the foul from. So on this one, B1 intercepts a pass in his own end zone. So automatically, if he don't come out of there, it's going to be a touchback. All right. A2 grabs but does not twist B's two face masks. So we have a foul by A. A1 hits B1, and B1 fumbles the ball out of bounds behind the goal line. All right. So the end of the run, remember, when there's a fumble, the end of the run is where he's at. And because he's in the end zone, it's a touchback. Don't make a difference what happened with the fumble. The end of the run is in the end zone. So the basic spot is going to be the touchback spot, which is the 20-yard line. So let's look at the other one. That's a foul by A. So that means when B gets the ball on the 20-yard line, we're going to give him another 15. We're going to give him 5 yards because there was no twist. They're going to be on the 25-yard line to start the play. So look at the one on the other side. B1 intercepts in A's end zone. B grabs but does not twist A2 face mask. We have a fumble. It's going to be a touchback. So B going to be starting on the 15-yard line because we're going to go to the 20. We're going to mark off the foul from the basic spot, which is the 20-yard line. And they're going to be B ball first and 10 from the 15-yard line. So on this one, it's all the same thing, but the fumble didn't go behind the goal line. The fumble came into the field of play and then went out of bounds. So you might say, well, don't we just mark it from the 3-yard line? Because should not be the basic spot because it went out of bounds on the 3-yard line. No. The end of the run is in the end zone. So it's a touchback. All right. Now, let's say it came in the field of play and somebody recovered it in the field of play. That's a whole different scenario. But it went out of bounds. The ball became dead and no player possession out of bounds because the end of the run was in the end zone, which would typically be the basic spot. It's a touchback. Goes to the 20-yard line, and we mark off the foul from the 20. Okay, where's the spot? All right. So the basic spot is the goal line for fouls which are committed during a run play by opponents of the team in possession at the time of the foul. When the team in possession is responsible for forcing the ball across its own goal line. That's that new force thing there. And the related runs in the end zone. Okay. And then again, it says it in 10.5.2, the enforcement spot for any foul by the defense is the goal line when the run ends in the end zone and would result in a safety. Okay. So the basic spot is B's goal line. So again, we go here. B1 intercepts the ball, pass, or runs into his own. Now, if you look at the diagram, he intercepts the ball on the 6-yard line. Okay. Remember, the momentum rule protection is the 5-yard line to the goal line. All right. So this is very important as a covering official that you process this information in your head and not enforcing this incorrectly. All right. So he intercepted the ball on the 6, and he let his momentum take him into the end zone. Okay. Now, if he's down in the end zone, it's a safety because guess what? He put himself in there. All right. So 2, A1 grabs and twists B1's face mask. The ball rolls out of bounds. Again, doesn't make a difference if it rolls out of bounds behind the goal line or it rolls out of bounds in front of in the field of play out of bounds. Okay. The end of the run is still in the end zone, and it will result in a safety because B is down in his own end zone. But because there was a foul by A, or the opponent, well, we can't. We're not gonna mark it in the. We're not. We can't. We're not gonna mark it from where he's down in the end zone. We're gonna take it to the goal line, and then mark it off. So we said we have a grasp and twist. So it'll be a 15-yard penalty. So it'll be B's ball on the 15-yard line, first and goal. All right. Here go another one where the goal line, where the basic spot is the goal line. Number 1, B1 intercepts A1 pass at his own 3-yard line. Then number 2 says B1 runs to his own end zone, no momentum. In other words, when he caught the ball, he stopped. And then he ran in. Right? So he didn't catch it and then the fluidity took him in. He caught it. He did some jiggle. He ran into his end zone. A1 grasped but did not twist his face mask. He fumbles. The ball go out of bounds. The goal lines we're going to mark it off from. Okay. So they'll be starting on the 5-yard line. Look at the next picture on the right side there. All right. So we got 2 minutes. I think I'm going to stop here because we're going to get into the scrimmage kick fouls, and that's going to take a minute to cover. So we're going to stop here at the PSK, and we'll cover from there tomorrow, and we'll finish up 1 minute.